Quatsi hopa toshino mehak ak este kutsanrsta ako mersta. Hello everyone, my name is Loren Aragon. I am from the Acoma Pueblo of New Mexico. I am a fashion designer based out of Phoenix, Arizona. The brand I represent is ACONAV. ACONAV is cultural designs embodied in timeless elegance, the idea to evoke empowerment. We are a women's couture fashion brand that celebrates the strength and empowerment of women worldwide. And here to share a little bit about resilience in fashion and how I think we've grown in the fashion industry and really try to push along who we are and creating awareness as far as being Native American in this industry. So again, welcome everyone. I hope everyone had a great holiday season this year. I know things were a lot difficult with everything happening around us, and really appreciate being here with you today to share a little bit about who we are as a fashion brand and a little bit about how culture plays into what we do, and also how we basically survived during this pandemic and what we're trying to do as far as with the things that are available to us and how we're trying to help with our communities. So once again, I'm Loren Aragon. I am CEO and designer of ACONAV. I am from the Acoma Pueblo, and the brand is ACONAV. And again, our brand is really more a celebration of the strength and empowerment of women worldwide. It's a celebration of matrilineal strength, and our cultures, Acoma and Navajo, really share a lot of the same ideas behind the celebration and just the, I guess, the empowerment of our women in our cultures. We look to our women for a lot of reasons, for their strength, for their nurturing, their education that they give us. And a lot of this really kind of went unnoticed for a long time. So what I tried to do with the brand was bring that back into view and be more of a focal point to what I do with everything. So again, I come from the Acoma Pueblo, and I would like to say that I was brought up with a good balance of both modern and traditional. My grandfather was really the one who had his ties to a lot of our traditional ways. So he taught me a lot about who we are, where we come from, what the things that we practice mean in our culture, and also the one that really kind of instilled in me the idea that the matrilineal strength is the strength that we need to focus on to take us through into the future. My mother was an educator. She's now retired, and is really more responsible for my modern upbringing. And she really taught me a lot of things in art and sciences, and that's really what kind of drove me into the career path I had chosen before all this, which is engineering. So I am a degreed mechanical engineer from Arizona State University, finished back in '04. I worked in the Phoenix area for about 13 plus years, doing a lot of different working in a lot of different engineering applications, from the automotive industry, automotive testing, to military applications and virtual training applications. And in all of those situations, or most of those situations, I was a design engineer. So a lot of my artistic background really kind of stuck with me through my technical background. And in those 13 years, about a little bit into those 13 years, 11 of those years have been being a multimedia artist. I just couldn't leave art behind. I really had a rekindled passion for it when I visited the Indian market, Santa Fe Indian market, for the first time in 2009, and was really amazed with how things were progressing with our cultures tying into modern art. So I really wanted to be a part of that somehow. So in just the last 5 years, I've become a full-time fashion designer. So this is what I do now. Just a little bit of a history of ACONAV. ACONAV is actually a cohesion of cultural names. Myself being Acoma, and Valentina, my partner and wife, Navajo. So that's where the name comes from. I'm full Acoma, she's full Navajo, and we started out as a greeting card company and produce greeting cards on the side of our careers or jobs. And that's really what gave ACONAV its name and really what got us into the art markets. We did for the longest time, I used to do greeting cards for family and friends during the holidays, and my family was known to be part of arts and crafts shows, powwows, you name it, and we would travel um, throughout the Southwest to different shows and do these things. And I kind of picked that up. I inherited that, wanting to do that kind of thing. And on the side, as the younger, as a child, I used to do greeting cards and sell those on the side and use the money for books and further along, I went into education and getting things to pay myself through school. And then I really just again found a passion for art again, and I really wanted to dwell more into the fine arts. So illustration was always the thing that I loved to do, and I just wanted to progress that. So got more into moving from pencil and pen to inks and digital art. Um, so kind of the logistics of how I went through my fine art is from illustration to gourd art and sculpture. I really wanted to get back into pottery somehow. However, it was just a laborious task. There's so many things you have to do, and really our natural clays come from home. But living in Arizona, just didn't have, uh, just couldn't find the resources for it. So thought about choosing a different type of um, material. So gourd was really more abundant in Arizona, and just what allowed me a three-dimensional service to work on. And just researching a little bit more about it was really interesting. So I really got more and more into it. Uh, then I just really wanted to revisit things with family. And one of the things that I loved watching one of my uncles do was metalsmithing, and learned from my good uncle Joe Salvador the art of silversmithing, and developed my own style of jewelry. And there's a couple samples on this slide here that you can see, from illustration to the jewelry to gourd art sculpture, and then graphic design, which is kind of a byproduct of being an engineer. I did a lot of work on uh, uh, three-dimensional environments to create tools and different products for different companies. And graphic design just kind of came along as far as just the things you can do to create something. Right here's a little image of a poster I did for an imaginary movie for a little exhibition we did in Phoenix with a good friend of mine. And with all this happening, I really wanted to preserve, and which is what one of the things my grandfather had really taught me a lot of, was looking for ways to preserve our culture. And how do we do that with what we do now with the modern things? And he always encouraged me to learn modern technology, modern disciplines, but never forget who I am, where I come from. And I really wanted to try to satisfy that need. And one of the ways was just looking back at how do we tie a lot of what we know in our art culture to uh, modern disciplines in art. So all these things that I've done, I really tried to look back to my culture as strength. And the biggest thing about our culture is our pottery. We're world renowned for our pottery, thanks to great artists that have really paved the way for our culture in that discipline. And I like to say that our pottery is the fine art of the Pueblo potteries, and it in the sense that it's a fine walled pottery. The markings, the designs are fine line. A lot of detail in these things, and the beautiful part about it to me is the stories that belong to that. Even just the connection with the artist and whoever designed that. And I wanted to put a part of that, a part of what I know, what I feel, into my work. So all these things really are what helped me become unique in the different disciplines that I've jumped into, and is really what got me noticed. So that being said, I wanted to preserve not only the Acoma culture and who I am, where I come from, but also a part of our family tradition. And a big part of our family tradition was creating garments. My mother and my aunt have been seamstresses for most of their lives, and I just really wanted to be a part of that somehow. But I never imagined myself to be sewing. I just thought, it was the girl thing to do, and really didn't want to be any part of that. But um, I realized that it's definitely something that's needed, and something that hadn't been done before, and I really wanted to capture that somehow. So um, the things that they taught me, I really wanted to take further. They do most of our traditional garments, and um, they most of our traditional garments as far as dresses and shirts for men. And I wanted to progress that into something more contemporary. And just learning about the industry was really eye-opening to me, and just so intrigued with how people were progressing even that, from artists like Alexander McQueen to Guo Pei, some of my favorite designers now that just really blew the door wide open for fashion design, and learning and discovering other artists that are near and dear to us. Virgil Ortiz being one of them, from Pottery Pueblo, who really paved the way for who's one of the ones that paved the way for modern fashion in Native America, and Orlando de Guy, two names that I really admire and still follow to this day. So just finding inspiration from our own people and from the outside world really helped me get more and more into fashion design. And I started small. I did my first prints on t-shirts. I had a lot of designs that were just kind of waiting in the wings, and people often told me, that's something I would love to see on a t-shirt. What can you do? So a good friend of mine who now runs his own business, Can't Fail, out of Phoenix, Arizona, he helped me get things moving with the first t-shirt designs, and that just kind of blew the door wide open for me as far as wanting to present something new. And with being an engineer, I was very fortunate to work with companies that saw projects go from cradle to grave, and being responsible for those kind of projects going from cradle to grave. So from the development to actual production to the final product, that's what I wanted to see. So I really wanted to embrace that, and so grateful to have the know-how to get those things started. Really pushed things along for me in the beginning with fashion design. So I really wanted to see things happen from nothing. And I'm gonna tell you that I'm happy to admit that I hate patterns that are already pre-made. Having to figure out what somebody else did, which is not my thing. And but that's part of what really kind of made fashion design fun for me, was the reverse engineering that had to occur with a lot of things, understanding how things were put together. And it was a pretty rough transition. It was hard to go from sharp angles, straight lines, to organic curves and shapes, and understanding just how the body works with materials and fabrics, and even that, just learning about new materials. But overall, I learned that fashion design is the hub of everything I love to do. It still includes illustration. It still includes an idea of sculpturing, design, thinking things through. I still apply a lot of what I know as an engineer to what I do now. So it's really paved the way. So again, a large part of what defines my fashion is where I'm from, Acoma Pueblo. And the two things that really play a huge role in what I do is our traditional pottery art. And these are just images, things that, that we look to a lot of in our society, the matrilineal society. The dresses here are shown are actually a few of my very first traditional dress designs that I tried after learning how to make some from my mother and my aunt. So again, our pottery art is just huge in who we are and gives us our identity. So again, the matrilineal culture, in getting into fashion design, I was really appalled at seeing a lot of things that were happening in fashion as far as Native Americans being represented, which really kind of put a damper on things for me, as far as, we're represented and being honored like we don't exist. And these are some of the things that I didn't like about the industry, and I really had no idea about, what the terminology was at the time for what I was doing and trying to make a stand against that. I wanted to prove to myself and to others that we have our own place in this industry. We can have our own place in this industry. We do have the know-how and the ability to do these things on our own, and we don't need other people to represent us. We have every right to be on these runways as other designers and create our own story, tell our own story, and really own it. So when I look to fashion and just women's fashion was really kind of the more awe-inspiring thing. It was just, you can do so much there. There's so much creativity there for me. So look back to, again, my culture, and the major thing that, again, that really set all this in motion was the idea of our matrilineal culture. So these ideas of the basic ideas of our matrilineal system are that women are held in high respect from the get-go. They are our teachers, our nurturers, mothers, and leaders in our society. They're ultimately our decision makers, and they have this ability to create life. And these are all the things that we celebrate in our culture. On the global application, and in my idea of trying to unify this with the rest of the world, to teach who we are and that we have, a connection with others, is just the understanding of the living world. Earth as our mother, we all originate from this planet. The respect for all living things, and positivity for all of humanity. Those are the things that kind of unite us all in a peaceful way globally, that I really wanted to share. And so what does this mean to women in the modern society? In just the last few years, it's been an awakening. It's just been great to see the growing awareness of women empowerment and the shift in leadership roles. We see it just in this last vote. Our first female vice president, our first Pueblo Native American interior leader, Deb Haaland, who's pictured here with Sharice Davis, first two women in Congress, Native American women. It's about gaining respect. It's about regaining that respect and really telling people and showing people that we have these abilities, that we have these same capabilities, that we have these same opportunities to get to where we need to be. And again, getting back to equality, that we're all made equal, created equal. And then to ACONAV, what is our role in women empowerment? And I've touched on that with things that I said before. I feel that we're here to create an awareness to lost ideas and beliefs of our existing cultures. We really have been overpowered by a lot of patriarchal ideas that just kind of have pushed us through. But again, we need to look at who we are traditionally, or back to our roots, and use a lot of that more. Again, our women are decision makers, they're our caretakers, and we need to look at that some more. I feel that my brand is a catalyst to advocate to women empowerment. When a lot of these ideas I really instill into a lot of my designs, and I want people who wear a garment made by us to feel those ideas, to feel empowered. And it's just overall, it's just the expression of these positive ideas being instilled in this as wearable art. We want to create a unity with that, and that unity is something that I'll talk about more with what we did during this pandemic with our masks, and something that we just really tried to push through as a really an idea to unite us and to get us through this tough, challenging time. So with all those ideas that were taken from culture and our art, from my background, we're able to create um, basically our identity in the fashion industry. So ACONAV, as I mentioned, is a Native American owned and operated couture fashion brand based in Phoenix, Arizona. We are the celebration of the strength and empowerment of women through positive expressions that tie culture to modern style. We are a proper and respectful representation of Native American culture in the fashion industry. And we want to be a good representation of a people, their story, and their culture. Um, we are a culturally fueled brand, striving to become a recognizable, reliable entity in this industry. We work to always establish meaningful relationships with various groups and just a whole lot of different individuals in this industry and just with the general greater community. So that's what we really strive ACONAV to be. So in our story of ACONAV, um, we want to be able for the wearer to share their story, and we want everyone to understand that they can break beyond their own self-imposed limitations and build their own story while becoming part of ours. And I just love how it's played out in the last years that we've done this, and some of the accolades that have come from being a Native American fashion brand in Phoenix, Arizona, has been going through the Phoenix Fashion Week boot camp, which was something I did back in 2016 for the first time, and was one of 2 Native American fashion brands to be part of that class, and came very close to being named Couture Fashion Designer of the Year that year for 2017. And just learned a whole lot about the business of fashion in that, and really grateful to Brian Hill and his organization for everything that they've taught me to push ahead. And was invited back the following year for the 2017-2018 class to be a part of Phoenix Fashion Week. And it was in that time that was able to become recognized as Couture Fashion Designer of the Year for 2018, which is opened so many more opportunities for me, which is I'm really grateful for. With that has come a working relationship with Walt Disney World to produce a dress that was displayed at is on display at the Epcot Center, and was part of the Creating Traditions, Change and Innovation in American Indian Art exhibition, and also having the opportunity to dress Arizona's only Tony Award voter to the Tony Awards for 2019, Colleen Jennings Roggenstack, who wore a custom dress on the red carpet for us there. And it was, so it's those kind of meaningful relationships that we built across the industry that just that keep pushing us forward, and we hope that inspire others to pursue their dreams in fashion. And it's been a great ride, and I'm very happy for the things that have come from this. And we were met, and I think we were all met with a really great challenge this last year, and even into this year, which is still uncertain when this will all end. But this pandemic has really taken a toll on a lot of things, and even the fashion industry worldwide. Excuse me. A lot of shows were canceled. Shows that we participated in, Native American art markets, and it was necessary, and we understood that it was necessary. But we had to think on the fly of what we were going to do had this keep going. And this was early on in the year, March, February timeframe, when we were starting to see the effects of it, and really didn't understand, what was going to happen later on. People were optimistic about the markets opening up back in the later summer, but we kind of had this, lingering doubt that they were. So it was a bit of a challenge, and really brought on, I think, it really allowed us to made us dig deep into our capabilities and just to see what we could do for those around us. A lot of people were panicking as to where they could get some kind of protection for this, and we did look to a couple different industries to see how we might be able to contribute, but ultimately it was kind of a should we or should we not kind of situation. And the thing that was pushing us back was whether or not these personal protective equipment pieces needed to be industry standards or reach a certain type of I guess safety standards in the medical field. But when we found out that the CDC and the World Health Organization were really encouraging people to mask up in some way, we jumped on this and really wanted to be able to contribute to stopping the spread of this virus. And with that, we came up with these masks, which we called the protective styling, ACONAV protective styling masks. We understood that people weren't really wanting to cover their face and wanting to continue to express themselves in some way, but the underlying thing that pushed us through in this was this unity thing that we had, in this idea that we had in the beginning, where we were all encouraged to wear and work together to stop this. And that's what really gave life to these masks, was the idea of unity. When we designed these masks, we were hoping that we could create some sort of unity with everyone wearing these designs, our designs, and have some sort of camaraderie, knowing that we're all doing art, and something this small that could have a great impact. And it was great to see. It really boosted us into doing this almost full time in this last year, and we're still producing them. We've come out with 8 different designs now. These are just our first four original designs, which included some pottery designs that again speak to the ideas of life that we need to all understand is what we're trying to protect here, our own lives, other people's lives. So protect others by protecting yourself was some of the other things that we had to, ideas that we wanted to share with this. And so these are all our first pottery design masks, and we have another set, which is a color set representing the 4 directions. Again, the spread of this is affecting us all. So these designs were made to try to unite us all and give us all the same idea of protecting one another. So, I mean, I always ask at the end of my presentations, what empowers you? And one of the things that pieces of advice I always give, or I'm always asked, if you could tell somebody what to do or how to do something better, what would you tell them? And this is something that I came up with, is never limit yourself because of who you are and where you come from. Embrace your existence and show us how limitless you can be. So again, break beyond your own self-imposed limitations and figure out where you want to be, and show us, and don't be afraid to show us. And again, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's all around us, and people are in this time. It's a little bit difficult, but we have to stand strong, and try to push through and find when we can do things more freely. It's going to take a huge effort from all of us, and again, it's just that little effort of masking up and staying home when you don't need to be out. And we really encourage that with everybody. So this is all I have for my presentation. I welcome any questions now from anyone who's watching or putting their input into our Facebook Live feed. So
thank you so much, Loren. That was beautiful.
thank you. Yeah.
We've got a couple of questions. I think especially when you were talking about what empowers you and where do you look for inspiration? Where do you hope 2021 takes you in your medium and in your fashion designs and in your career?
You know, we have to not give up and keep pushing through even during this time. We do have projects that are still live and that we want to get moving through. So there's some goods and bads about this pandemic, and one of the good things is that it's really helped us focus back on, again, our capabilities within our own company. And I didn't mention this, but we're just a really small group, team. Myself, Valentina, who's our COO, Chief Operations Officer, my mother, who's our master seamstress. We still all work together to try to keep things moving forward. And one of the things was finally launching a couple things that were just sitting there this last year. Toward the end of the year, we launched some handbags, and that's one of the things that a lot of our clientele patrons have really kind of wanted to see from us. So I'm happy that there's things like that that we can jump back on and push through. So really hoping and crossing our fingers that things get back, to a little bit better standing later on in the year, so we can be back on the runway. That's one of the things that we really miss. But virtual fashion shows are the next big thing. So we jump on as many of those as we can. It's been a real challenge to try to come up with designs right now, but there's so many that I can choose from, and I'm really happy that I can uh, uh, go back to those designs or drawings that I have now, and then try to bring those to life. And so again, it's that's what motivates me, is that there's still things to do. There's still ways we can um, shoot what we have going on to everybody else.
Awesome, thank you. We have a question from Ellen Abercrombie, and she said, "You mentioned that you felt um, sewing was women's work. Do you sew now, or do you mostly let the women do it?"
No, I jump in on that sewing. It's become a passion now. It's I think it was just really intimidating. My mother and my aunt made it look so simple, and it was just one of those things you see, and one of those I admit it sounded a little sexist to say that it's a women's job, but really, there's a lot of men designers out there and doing some great work. And I uh, I wanted to be a part of that. And so I do, when it comes to doing a lot of the couture work, I'm mostly the one that does a lot of the heavier sewing. My mother's there to help me out with some things. And but we all kind of pitch in, just us three right now. We do have an intern, and we wanted to bring on some more interns last year, but that just never happened, with everything that went with all the shutdowns that started to occur. But um, whoever can help is helping right now with our family. And we all have our hands on a machine right now, doing stitching and whatever needs to get done.
That's so great. I love that you keep it in the family. I think it's amazing. Um, so just a couple of more questions. How have you used technology in designing some of the fashion pieces that you have?
It's a large part of what I do. Fashion design. I used to do pencil and pen sketches, with a lot of my sample works, or my with the body of work I wanted to design. But now it's just I find it so much quicker to use Illustrator or some kind of vector program to develop my designs. It's playing a larger role in what I do, and that's probably a huge thing with this. And I mentioned that part of my engineering background plays a role in my designs. It comes what the engineering part that I'm talking about is that the layout of designs. Once I have a pattern made, it's transferred into a digital program where then it's printed that way. So just the parts are printed for me, and when those are brought to me, we cut and sew and put that together. So it's helped me to, I guess, streamline a couple of our design lines, and it's I think another part of the technology is social media, and that plays a huge role in trying to promote work and keeping uh, a live presence in to our communities out there in cyber world. So it's constantly, it's every day, it's doing something on social media or designing on a computer. So the computer is just a huge tool that is just, we need it.
That's great. So the last two questions are both about your website. The first one is a viewer was asking, when will more bandanas be available on your website? And then a follow-up question, if any viewers want to purchase some of your beautiful masks, where can they go to do that?
Yeah, so we try to put everything up front on our website, and it's aconav.com. That's ACONAV.com. All our links are right there on the very first page when you walk in, and that's where our masks will be available. We keep those updated as much as possible. I know we run out of orders online sometimes, but that's just so we can complete the previous orders and keep those moving forward. But we try to keep an ongoing inventory online for that. Bandanas are quite kind of in a standstill right now, but we're getting some more. So please be patient with us on that. We just put an order in. We work with a lot of different groups, native owned businesses, and they're going through their own struggles as far as trying to get us inventory and supplies. So we're waiting on that, and it's just another challenge for us to get through. Just trying to get inventory to where we need it to be, and also being able to produce. There's a lot of different shutdowns that we're sometimes not aware of, and also on top of that, it's just a lot of the question I get the most online is, where's my order? The USPS is and the whole logistics systems has just been so badly affected by this whole thing, and the holidays just were no help. So a lot of things have been put on delay, and we tried to get things out on time, but it's just a matter of time with the logistics systems. So
Sometimes feels like an uphill battle, I'm sure.
yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
thank you, Loren, so much for your time. For all of
Uh,
you visitors, we've put a link to Loren's website, that's aconav.com, in the comments as well as in the description. So thank you so much again for your time and for sharing your journey with us. We look forward to seeing where you go in the future, and look forward to continuing to support local Native artists. Thank you,
yeah,
Loren.
thank you. Yeah, we appreciate your support and for the support of all other artists. And thanks again for having me. That way.